Hey Ben, you know how you asked me earlier what I wanted for Hanukkah?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I want.
Is that two long Furby earrings?
Yeah.
It's so cursed.
Now, I don't have pierced ears, but if I did,
If I delete
It-
someone else's message,
if I did, I want these bad boys.
They're so cursed.
I don't even know what to say.
Oh,
I
I
hate
also
it.
saw
The
the
second
other
one's
day.
really fucked up.
Right?
So much.
So here's the thing. I used to be really into Furbies.
I'm so sorry.
Um,
So
but
cursed.
so I had 2 Furbies when I was a kid, and I wanted many more of them. I had a book. I had a book that taught you all of the things that you could teach a Furby to do. I spent a lot of time trying to train these Furbies to do certain
I'm
activities.
pretty
I spent
sure
a lot
all
of time.
Furbies know how to do is blink and yell.
No, they have like cheat codes and shit. They do some whack
Eddie,
shit.
Summon demons
Eddie,
into them.
every Furby knows how to fuck.
I don't get the joke.
So the thing, like, Furbies do a lot of stuff. They can talk to each other. They've got the like infrared thing on their foreheads, so they talk to each other. They like they
Curse their owners.
so
Open
Furbies
portals to
were
hell.
Murder you
Furbies
in your
were
sleep.
banned from entering NSA property in the 90s because they were concerned that the Furbies could repeat classified information.
Nice.
I
Um,
kind of like
can't-
Furbies better now.
They
Now that
can't.
you've given me this information.
Furbies also have like the sounds that Furbies make actually like translate into specific phrases.
Whoa.
It's
So
cursed.
Bro, are Furbies SCPs?
Furbies are kind. I mean, like I think they could be.
I
They-
don't think they are. I think they're just cursed as fuck.
They are certainly awful little machines.
Yeah.
Furbies are fantastic. You can if you turn a Furby upside down, it knows it's upside down. I was really into Furbies, and I think I want a Furby.
For Christmas?
God.
Absolutely not.
Or for Hanukkah?
And-
Beans Furby.
Sure.
Is that just a
I
Furby
think-
filled with
Candle nights?
beans, Chris? What are you talking
No,
about?
it's a Furby made of beans.
I saw that. I also saw a long Gene Furby or Derby, if you will.
Oh my god, the
Oh my
Jerby.
God.
The Jerby.
Have you guys seen the Derby?
I've seen the
I have
Jerby.
not, no.
Hold on.
I wish I never had seen the Jerby,
I'm
but I
getting
I
saw
don't
the
know that I
Jerby.
can stomach a derby.
Yeah, here, this is not the one that I saw even. There are multiple of them. Hold on. This is a dark place that I've gone to.
I'm so sorry. We've sent you to this horrible area of the internet.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here's the Derby.
Thank you.
And
Oh my
here's-
God.
Thank
So,
you for this.
all right.
This is gonna haunt my fucking nightmares.
It should. Now, okay, so I really like Furbies. I think that they're neat little creations, and I kind of want one. But I have this problem where this time of year comes around and people feel like they must acquire gifts for other people, right? And this leads to people asking other people what kind of what gift do you want? And this is difficult. This is a difficult question to answer because as I am now an adult with a job, I just buy the things that I want.
Yeah.
And the things that I don't buy, it's because they're exorbitantly expensive, or it's just because it's something that I know I don't need right now. I just kind of want it at some point.
Yep, I have
But I
this same problem every Christmas.
I can't give like my grandma a list of like the 60 bookmarked Etsy pages that I have that I want to buy pins from because like that doesn't mean anything. but I can't just like be like, Grandma, buy me a pop filter for my microphone, because that's not a fun gift to give somebody. You know, like
It's the kind of thing that's like, because what's a pop filter? Like less than $10, right? It's just the kind of thing that you haven't gotten around to buying.
exactly, because I want to like find it in a store, and I haven't been to a Best Buy in a minute. Like, but like one year for Christmas, I legitimately couldn't think of anything that I like wanted that I hadn't bought myself.
Only
So you know,
one year?
Christmas, I got jumper cables. Like
Damn.
Evie, this
that was my Christmas.
Oh,
this has
because I'm
happened
like,
to me
I was
every
like,
year,
well,
like since
it happens to me.
like
But this is the most prime example of being like how I got a gift that was no joy for anyone to give me. And it wasn't even joyous to receive it. It was just like, cool, now I don't have to go buy jumper cables at the AutoZone. Awesome.
Yeah. And it's this
Shit.
weird problem where like, because like, your parents, right? You can just be like, I don't know, money, right? Like you can say that to them, but like Alyssa and I aren't gonna ask each other for money.
Yeah.
See, in my perfect world, no one would ever have to ask me what I want. They would just know me well enough, right? To be like, oh, Evie likes snakes.
I'll get
I'm
Evie
gonna
a snake.
Yeah, I'm gonna get Evie a snake. God, that'd be amazing. Someone give me a little Mexican black king snake for Christmas. Fuck, I'd lose my mind.
You shouldn't
But
get people pets as presents.
I know
Yeah.
it's
See,
bad.
Evie, I know you enough.
100% agree. I 100% agree. But I think that it's different if somebody has indicated wanting a pet and is prepared for that pet, and you just help them offset the cost as a gift. That I think is different than surprising someone with an animal. But I do agree. But it's like if someone goes, Evie likes snakes, and I saw this cute snake pin online or this cute snake patterned T-shirt at the store, I'll get her that because it's a thing that she likes.
Snake
I would
print leather
appreciate
pants.
I would appreciate that so much more than me saying to someone like, "Oh yeah, I kind of want
Not what
this
I'm getting Evie for
thing
Christmas.
for Christmas," and then they buy me that exact DVD. Like that's not fun, right?
I'm gonna get you
But I-
season
and I-
2 and 6 of the Entourage,
That would be absolutely hysterical, and I would
especially
appreciate
considering
that.
it's just Entourage.
But like, it's one of the things that has created such a disconnect, like an inability to enjoy the holidays for me because it's so performative. Like having to tell someone exactly what I want so they can buy me that exact thing in order to please me and to make it look like they did a good job buying a gift, that blows.
Evie, I'm gonna buy you snogs.
Okay.
What the fuck?
It's
are
snake print. It's
snogs?
snake print. They're snake print Crocs. They're the snake print
You mean
Croc
snogs?
They're snocks?
It's the worst
snogs.
thing.
No, they're the clogs. Because Crocs come in a lot of different shapes now, so you got to be specific.
They do.
I'm sorry, they're
First thing
they're
I've met.
croc clogs.
Yeah,
Isn't that the
That's
standard?
normal.
Croc?
that's like the standard Croc
standard Croc.
is the clog. But there's like a bunch of other Crocs now.
This is
Every time I-
Goblincast live on the air.
I hope not.
This is Croccast live on the air.
Goblin
This is
Croc
Goblin
live,
Croc
on,
live
the
on the
shoe.
air.
Goblin Croc, yeah.
Crocs actually create some complex emotions in me.
Hi, I'm
Um,
Ben.
On one hand, oh hi, I'm Evie. I have complicated feelings about Crocs.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Danica.
I enjoy Crocs.
I'm Eddie. I'm sorry.
I'm Jenica. I've never put a Croc on my feet.
Oh, they're so
Neither
comfy.
have I. So
If you get the ones with the
okay.
fluff inside, then they're just really warm and comfy. But otherwise, they're just
They're
bad
hideous.
sandals.
They're
See, I want a
hideous.
pair of those.
I've
Listen,
got 2 pairs in my house.
Evie,
In
tell us
order-
about your feelings, and then I have some interesting tidbit about Crocs.
I once watched a kid trade his bright yellow Crocs for a Game Boy Mini.
Baller. Evie, what are your... Oh,
Oh,
the call.
Whoa.
I couldn't hear anything that was being said,
oh,
Oh,
nice.
no.
and the screen was
Weird.
frozen.
Perfect.
Well,
Well, I'm glad
here.
you're back. Evie, share with us your complex feelings about Crocs.
All right.
It
So,
was a
in
Game
order
Boy
to tell you
Micro.
guys how I feel about Crocs, I first have to tell you a
Wait,
little
I'm
bit
sorry,
about
Evie. I have to pause you. Ben, did you just say a Game Boy Advance Micro?
yeah, it was a Game Boy Advance Micro.
Bro, I had one of those, That
Would
thing
you
was...
trade it for a pair of bright yellow Crocs?
I did not actually.
Well, I saw a kid do that once.
No. But Ben, the way I got it was I traded a kid like some fucking Halloween candy for it.
Jesus Christ.
It really
Like-
shows how little kids valued the Game Boy Advance
Like,
Micro.
Dude, I loved the Game Boy Advance Micro. It was the coolest thing in the world to me because you could change out the faceplate, and it was so small. It was so easy to play during class in middle school. It was the best, dude. I played so much Yu-Gi-Oh! GX World Championship 2007 on that thing. Anyway, Evie, complex emotions.
All right. So before I can tell you guys how I feel about Crocs, I have to tell you a little bit about my father.
Sure, my hourly rate is 70.
No. All right.
Ben,
Let
you're
me just
jacking
sit
those
you down
rates
on
up
this
for the
couch real quick.
holiday
No,
season,
listen.
huh?
It's not about the daddy issues. I guess it kind of is. All right. My father is
These aren't daddy
very,
issues,
like-
they're father problems.
their father problems. My father is here are 3 facts about my father. He has a long braided beard down to his chest. He has he is in a motorcycle gang, and he was once a tattoo artist. He's very into heavy metal.
That's 4 facts.
And when they came out with Crocs, he bought a pair of camouflage Crocs and refused to wear any other shoe since then.
Oh God.
He will wear his work boots to work and his Crocs the rest of the time. And we begged him. We're like, Dad, you can't do this. You can't look like a member of Black Sabbath from the ankles up with Crocs on your feet. You can't be this person.
Let him live his best
And-
life.
I don't want him to be living his best life if that is the price that must be
Also,
paid.
no one will see the Crocs, Evie. They're camo.
Like that, this motherfucker is Slayer from the ankle up. And from the ankle down, there's nothing there.
You know, my
Yeah.
grandma named her vacuum Slayer. It's been around since the 1970s, and it sucked the whole time.
Hey.
I hate you. I hate you a lot.
Chris, can you make the comedy drum sound effect? Because I'm kind of sick, so mine wasn't really good.
But
You're not Chris. Oh,
The gong.
The
gong.
comedy
Chris's
gong.
fucking
Comedy
gong.
But Evie, your father needs to be ready at any time to trade a child his shoes
For
for a Game Boy Advance Micro.
You know
You
what,
know,
dude? One of the faceplates I had for it was camouflage, actually.
I
It
can't
helped me to
even
hide
believe
it
that.
when I was playing during class.
I
Right.
can't even say that that's not something my father would do. Like, it's actually really hard to list things that my father wouldn't do, because listing the things that he has done just in like my own recent memory, we once got in a high-speed car chase with the police
Uh-huh.
in his girlfriend's Chevy Tahoe
Oh.
So going
with
with the
his
Crocs
kids in the
story,
car. Like, he could do
Uh-oh.
anything.
we knew his kids were in the car. Evie, you said we, and you're one of his kids.
Yeah. Allegedly.
The Crocs story.
Oh.
It's just dark. It's not right. They're ugly. They're so ugly. They're not even comfortable.
So
There's nothing good
this
about
brings
How
them.
many
me-
Crocs have you worn, Evie?
This brings me to what I wanted to say about
Enough
Crocs.
to know.
I disagree.
So
They're extremely
Crocs-
comfy.
Ew, no. They feel
Very-
so bad.
You feel bad.
In a
I do.
very short time span, went through.
That's why nobody holds me.
Oh. Uh-oh.
In a very short time span, Crocs went through like the cycle that a product might go through over the course of like 10 or 20 years, right? So
That
Crocs,
is
in
true.
the span of like 3 years.
Crocs came out, and as anything does, they built up slowly their popularity, and then boom, big explosion. Crocs were everywhere, right? But then very quickly, popular opinion turned on Crocs. Crocs are ugly. You shouldn't wear Crocs. You're a big dork loser if you wear Crocs on your feet, even if you look like Slayer from the ankles up, right? And so
Especially if.
very quickly, Crocs fell from grace. They were like Icarus. They flew too
I
close to
don't-
the sun and their Crocs melted.
Oh, they would do that too. They would melt.
But then, not long after this, it was not a long time, right? Where suddenly people started wearing Crocs ironically because they were so uncool, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
because so many people realized that Crocs were the least cool thing possible, that it was now cool to wear them ironically, they became very popular again. In fact, surpassing their previous peak in popularity.
I
So
say,
everyone, not everyone, but like more people than ever were wearing Crocs, and they all were like, "Yeah, but we don't mean it. They are very comfy though, but we don't
I think
mean
that-
it."
I think also that Crocs becoming accepted kind of falls into this, like, they sort of like they left the spotlight, and then when people realized, like, okay, nobody really is paying attention to Crocs anymore.
Mm.
So I can wear some Crocs and no one's gonna say anything about it one way or another, because nobody's really paying attention to them anymore.
Well, yeah. So
And I
that's
will say,
Hard
Crocs
not to pay
have-
attention to bright yellow Crocs.
so that's
well,
actually
okay, they aren't all bright yellow, but Crocs do have some positives, right? Crocs are a fantastic beach shoe, from what I can ascertain.
They make a good
'Cause-
slipper.
They're fucking made of plastic. You just wash them right off, no worries.
well,
got
Crocs
holes in them
are what
specifically for
we in
drainage.
the industry would refer to
Yes.
as an ATF. That's an all-terrain footwear.
All-terrain footwear.
Heck.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of all-terrain footwear and also bad footwear, do you guys remember Skeletos?
Who was speaking of bad footwear?
Yes, I do.
What the hell's a
I have
skeleton?
no idea what
Are you
you're
talking about the running shoes that have individual toes?
Yes,
I didn't
am.
know those were called Skeletos.
I don't think they are called Skeletos.
Maybe that's one
I
brand.
think they are.
That might be a brand.
All right,
That's
someone's
not what...
googling.
They're
I
called
sold
Skeletos.
them when I was 16. They're not called that.
What are
They're
they called,
called
then?
Skeletos.
I don't remember. I was 16. Most of that's
I'm
blocked out.
fucking-
Skeletos
Hold
kind of sounds
on.
like what
That's fair enough.
Skeletor would call his toes.
They're literally called Skeletos.
No.
They're
Oh my
right
God, they
there.
are.
They're right here. You could still buy them on
Yeah.
Fila's website of all places.
I hate it.
They're Vibrams.
What?
Vibram
What?
is the brand that I had always heard of. They're called Five Fingers, even though they're toes.
Okay, well, Fila is a real brand.
Yeah, so
a real shoe
Skeletos-
brand.
Skeletos seems
so-
to be what Fila calls them.
Yeah.
Fila? Fila?
I think
Fila.
it's Fila.
Fila?
Yeah.
Fila. Fila.
No.
Fila.
Filet.
Fila.
It's
Fila.
filet.
Filet.
Filet of feet.
Filet-o feet.
Don't want
The
to think
thing
about
about-
that fish singing about toes.
All right. The thing about Skeletos is that I saw them online,
I just
you know,
had
from
the
like
biggest,
people.
loudest
making
sneeze
fun
of
of
my
them.
life,
Just
and I
call them
barely
toe
hit the
shoes.
mute button in time.
Okay, fine. The toe shoes.
Thank you.
I saw them online and they were horrific, and I was like, why would anybody ever want to wear these? And then I was in college and I met a guy who wore them. And I also watched this kid like climb a building. So I guess they must have done something for your dexterity bonus.
I mean, honestly, I would say it's probably more like the leather sole, because that's how you make like climbing shoes.
The first time I
Yeah.
ever saw
Well,
them was because a
he
kid in my high
cited-
school who was on like the track team was wearing them.
Yeah.
Weird.
And then
Well,
like
this-
not like a bunch, but like a more than one number of kids started wearing them. I think it was like 4 or 5
Oh,
kids
Yep.
were wearing them.
see, I
don't
only
think I've
ever
ever
knew
seen
this.
these.
I thought they were kind of cool. I was like,
They
oh,
are
that's
neat.
like I was like, that's not something I would wear, but
They
they're kind
seem
of
like
fresh.
They would take a lot of getting used to. I don't know if you guys have ever worn like toe socks.
Yeah.
I
But,
never
like,
have.
while
It
they
takes
can
a
be
long time to
very
learn how to put them
comfortable,
on.
they're like they take a lot of getting used to, but I only ever knew this one kid to wear the shoes like in person. And he did cite that having the free range of motion in his toes helped him climb trees.
Mm.
Interesting.
So this is
Yeah, I guess it
anecdotal,
gives you a
but
little better like grip on things with your feet
I guess.
instead of zero.
So
Reject modernity. Embrace monkey.
in high
Do you guys-
school,
Monkey.
I worked in a sneaker store.
I'm
And this was
sorry.
right around the time that those started to come out, and like a bunch of middle-aged people and also high school athletes were discovering them. And it's surprising how little you have to interact with people's feet when you work in a sneaker store, even one that specifically measures every customer. Because we were a small town thing, and that was just the way that people knew they were getting real service instead of just telling us their size.
Yeah.
But people would come in and they'd be like, I want some of those Vibrams. And I'd be like, oh, okay, what color? And they would tell me a color, and I would go back and we wouldn't have that color. So I'd grab the 3 colors we had and I'd bring them back out and I'd say, now I have to get very comfortable with your feet very quickly. Because they would have to take off their shoes, take off their socks, put their feet in this thing, and I would have to guide each toe into the slots.
Oh, that sounds
That's how
If you
Ben
wrong
developed a
size, I had
foot
to take it
fetish.
off, get another thing, and do it again.
I can't like
Instead
how
of just holding open the lip and tying the shoe.
The what?
you know how like shoe stores
You know, the
have
lip of the
like
shoe? tongue?
those little like fake disposable socks
Mm-hmm.
that
Those
you're
don't
supposed to
exist for the
wear.
toe shoes.
Right, it's like
Like
how do
nylons?
you
Yeah.
the hygiene, the
Mm-hmm.
you get a bunch of athletes coming in, all
We had-
trying on these
we had
shoes
some
with their bare ass
sprays.
athlete toes.
Well, okay, so the athletes would generally just buy them online.
All right.
But a lot of middle-aged folks with disgusting feet, not that any foot is like good to be around.
Yeah, but
That's
you
not
know,
that's
like
not a fetish
here's the
that
thing.
I'm part of at all.
Middle-aged-
Especially having worked with feet
middle-aged
I
men
know.
Middle-aged men typically
Have very
don't,
very nice clean feet.
Ugh.
well, I feel they typically don't do much in the way of skincare.
Nope. Definitely not on
and
their
that-
feet.
Well,
Like,
it's
I-
really
I
weird to
once,
me that you included the words middle-aged. You could have just
Well,
said men.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, younger people are getting more into realizing the fact that skincare isn't gendered. But I did want I could have maybe just said men. I did
Well,
once date a
here's
guy
the thing, though,
whose
is it
elbows
kind of
and
is
knees.
because something in the brain of men goes, I don't give a shit about that. Like that's like
It's this.
And you don't think it has
society.
anything to do with the
society.
marketed with the fact that skincare is only marketed at women?
no, I don't think so. I
Okay.
always cared for my skin,
Yeah.
but that
I'm
was
just saying
because
that like
I didn't
the
want to have
marketing
zits and
has
stuff.
the marketing has a you know
because
has a
I liked going on dates
result
with
on things.
women.
Weird. Can't relate.
But so I did once date a guy whose elbows
Fortunate.
and knees were so rough. They felt like rhinoceros skin.
Were they gray?
And he said that like they were gray. They were like whitish gray and rough and hard. And he talked all the time about how uncomfortable they were, and he was constantly like
Oh.
scratching them. And it caused him like so much discomfort. And I went to him one day, I was like, you know, you could just put some lotion on. And he said, ew. Why would I do that? And I said, because you
Absolutely
have very
based.
dry skin, and that's what lotion helps with. And he's like, I don't need lotion. And I'm like, bro, you've got extra 2 inches of skin on your knees.
Bro.
Yeah.
And it's like made of sandpaper you need. But it's like, but so many men are taught that they don't need to care about those things. And I'm like, nobody gave this kid some lotion his whole life? Nobody?
Very sad.
26 years this man's been alive. I think he's probably still never worn any lotion.
I was so confused
He's
for a
probably
second.
still itching his fucking knees somewhere, man.
Like, until you said
He's
I
probably still
think, I
somewhere
was
in the
like, why
world.
were you dating a 26-year-old in high school?
No, he's
Oh.
probably. I think he's 26 now.
Yeah.
Um,
Just for the first half
makes
of the
sense.
sentence, I was really concerned.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, it's rough, man.
Like his elbows, yeah.
His
his elbows.
God, and sleeping with him hurt. Physically,
have-
it was painful.
That's
So,
so gross.
like, sometimes during, the winter when it's really, like, dry and stuff, just my left elbow will get really, like, dry and rough. Just that one. It's never happened to my
Too.
right elbow in
No, that
all
actually
the years
happens
I've
to
been
me
alive.
too.
And so what happens is I'm like, well, my right one is fine, right? So the other one will probably just become fine,
I
And so-
just put lotion on just my left elbow.
So, like, I don't do anything about it. And, like, I know that, like, putting lotion on it would solve the problem much quicker, but instead I just,
Yeah.
like, wait a week and then it's fine.
Yeah. And it's like there's just such a
And
distinct
I know
difference
that
between like I
if it was
sometimes
both
get
elbows,
some dry
I
skin
know I would
and
put lotion on
my
immediately.
skin. Yeah.
But it's just the one, so I'm like, well, but the other elbow is fine. So,
Yeah. You start to second guess yourself. It's like, but there's a distinct difference too between like sometimes my skin gets a little dry and I don't really put lotion on right away versus my knees have the skin of a different species of creature on them. And I need to know how you get that way.
I don't know.
Like, where does your life go wrong?
Alyssa has expressed that she's very jealous that like especially in the winter, when it's dry and shit, she has to use like what's it called, chapstick.
Yeah, I'm literally applying chapstick at this moment.
And like, but she's expressed that she's jealous of me because I don't have like chapped or dry lips or anything, and I've like I don't know, I probably haven't applied chapstick in like 10 years.
Yeah, now I'm jealous of you
Been a
too.
while.
And if it's just that, I mean, my skin is very prone to drying out quickly, and I use
I
probably
keep
like
it
a
hydrated,
travel size.
100.
Well, I put lotion on every morning and every evening, like my whole arms, my whole legs. But I like still need to apply a lot throughout the day, more depending on like what I'm doing.
I just noticed that my icon is lighting up every time I use my mouse. So I'm gonna move my microphone a little.
Thank you, Mr. Hot Mike.
So I have a question for you guys.
I'm gonna make sure that
Okay.
my mouse is actually
And I
behind the
want-
microphone.
I had
Right.
to reset my
Yes.
internet again because it keeps
How about-
just not working so very poorly. It's not working.
There we go.
I want to paint a picture real quick.
Okay.
A
So
word picture with your mouth brushed
Do you
down.
have a canvas? You might need
Yeah.
a canvas.
the canvas
and
is your
some
mind,
brushes.
Chris. All
Oh
right.
shit!
So I want you to look
Get
at
out
this.
of there!
I want you to look at this
That's my private place.
image. I want you to look at these images with your mind's eye, okay?
All right.
I don't
So
have
let
one
me
of
take
those.
you back. My neighbors upstairs just started playing really loud music. Hope the mic's not picking that up. It's
I can't hear it
10:18
now.
on a Wednesday.
They're
What are you
cleaning.
doing?
They're vibing.
Actually, Eddie,
They're-
it's
they're just
7:18
vibing
on
and
a
keeping
Wednesday,
it-
but that's fine.
Not in New York.
They're just vibing and keeping it tight.
They are. All right, so ignore them. I'm painting
Don't
a
at
picture.
them. They're chilling.
And dear
It's a lot
listeners,
more fun of a sentence to say when you actually put the G's on the ends of words that have G's on the end of them, which I never do. It felt very wrong.
dear listeners, I want you to do this as well. Use your mind's eye to envision these images that I'm going to create.
All right.
You're a child. Let's say,
Oh, I don't want to go there.
let's say,
Nothing has changed.
4th, 5th grade, 8, 9, 10 years
Yeah.
old.
No,
okay?
this is a bad place that I don't want to go back to.
I'm sorry, but I have to take you there.
I don't want to go.
You're on
Wait. He didn't say you had to be you as a child. You're just a child.
No. You're
Be a
you.
different one.
You're you. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Oh
you're
no,
I don't want to be me as a
no!
child.
All right, you're a
You're
child.
I
on
really
Six
don't want
Flags
to go
El
back to
Toro.
that year.
The drop is coming up.
You're a child.
Okay.
No.
You're sitting in the back seat of the car.
Oh no.
Okay, one of your parents or guardians is driving the car, and you're on a journey that's gonna take 30 plus minutes. Could be a 45-minute trip to a relative's house for Christmas. Could be an hour, 2 hours to an amusement park. You're on a long car ride. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting next to the window on the left side of the car. You have your seatbelt on or
know which
off,
side of the
depending
car
on
I
how
sat
cool
on.
your parents were.
Wait.
Hang on.
What?
Yeah, mine didn't care if I lived or died, so no seatbelt for me.
So they were super uncool, is what you're saying.
Deeply.
That's up to the listener. I'm not going to get caught up in that.
No, that's deeply uncool.
So,
Do not wear your seatbelt.
you're sitting in the back seat of the car on a long road trip.
It took
You
me a
turn
long
your
time
head
to
to
get
the
used
left
to
and
wearing
look
a
out the
seatbelt because
window.
it felt so bad.
You turn your head to the left and
Uh-huh.
look out the window. You're watching the scenery roll by.
Uh-huh.
You know, long fields, or
Bigfoot.
rows of houses, trees, telephone
Bigfoot.
poles. Okay? You're watching the scenery roll by.
Yeah.
I see Bigfoot.
That's a lot of
He's
Bigfoot,
there.
Evie.
Okay,
Is he
now
running alongside
There.
the car?
wait.
Pounding
Shh.
alongside the
Stay
car.
with me. Stay with me in the image. Stay with
All
me.
right.
I'm in the image.
Now,
it's just
did
Bigfoot's there
now
too.
in this scenario, you're a child,
He's keeping me safe.
right? Did each of you, as I did, imagine a guy or an animal or something running alongside the car, keeping pace with you,
It's
and
Bigfoot.
jumping over trees and telephone poles and houses and stuff, and
Yes,
parkouring
and it's Bigfoot.
everything
Only
in
if it
sight?
was-
Absolutely, yes.
I really did do
One
that.
second, Evie, you
and
did
for a
this as a
while.
child?
100%.
Chris?
Yeah, all the time.
Yes.
Ben?
Well, absolutely.
Only if it was dark.
Okay, Jenica?
Oh, that's so distressing.
I did
Hmm?
not
Yeah, it was
do
something
this.
to be afraid of.
You did not do this,
a fun
Jenica.
journey.
You didn't ever
I did not do
imagine
this.
a dude running alongside the car, jumping over shit.
No.
So all four of us except Jenica did this, right? What the fuck?
That
Why
seems
did
to be the
everyone do
consensus.
this? Clearly not everyone. But like,
Yeah.
no one ever. You never talked
Why
to
did
anyone.
you? I don't understand.
You never talked to any other kids about this, right? Like this, you didn't learn about it from anyone. You just did it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's something. It's got to be something in like the collective unconscious of our
Yeah,
species
what's wrong
or
with
something.
all of you?
It was an imaginary game you could play in the car when you couldn't do other things.
I guess so. It's so weird. I think.
Like,
Yeah.
it's dark, your Game Boy Advance doesn't have a
Um,
backlight because you don't have an SP.
So there's
You look
actually
out the side, and there's a monster
oh,
running alongside the car
well,
that you
there's
can't
actually-
tell anyone about, or it'll
there's
get
actually
Ben,
a
you
lot
didn't
of
trade a kid some
instances-
Yu-Gi-Oh cards for a Game Boy SP?
you. No, I had the Advance before anyone else.
I once traded all of my Yu-Gi-Oh cards for a skateboard.
That's a fair trade.
That's not a bad trade. Depends on what cards
Yeah.
you had.
Not very many good ones.
It's about quantity, not quality.
Yeah, it was a whole
For
Walmart
children with
shopping
Yu-Gi-Oh
bag,
cards.
like so full of Yu-Gi-Oh cards that you couldn't tie the handles together.
I remember.
But it was mostly trash cards.
I traded a kid a fiend kraken for a blue eyes white dragon on the playground.
Oh boy,
hmm
What a fucking idiot that kid was.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
total
there.
moron.
So on the note of Yu-Gi-Oh, somebody's been using my Crunchyroll account to watch Yu-Gi-Oh GX. Eddie, is that you?
Does Austin have your Crunchyroll account?
Yes.
It's Austin.
wait. If I had said no, would it have been you?
No, it wouldn't have been me because I have
Um,
not been watching Yu-Gi-Oh GX.
so-
I
I do want to say we sat down.
After
We sat
the
down to
2-hour
watch
lecture
anime the
you
other
gave
day.
me on the history of Yu-Gi-Oh video games. Are you sure you haven't been watching Yu-Gi-Oh GX?
No, Austin has been watching Yu-Gi-Oh GX recently.
Well,
so that's
we
why I
sat
asked
down.
if it was him.
We sat
I
down.
have
to
been
start...
rewatching some episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Monsters, but on my own Hulu account.
Okay, that's also on Crunchyroll.
Okay, I have Hulu on my phone.
You could have my Crunchyroll.
I mean, I
on
have
your
it on
phone.
my computer as well, but like it's so convenient to like
I don't know why you're making a big deal out of this, Ben. He doesn't
He has
want
my
to
password.
do
He doesn't use it.
Well, yeah, because I use it occasionally.
It's way more fun when I log into Crunchyroll. When me and Evie sit down every Friday to watch the stuff that's coming out currently and just see a bunch of random nonsense from our friends. And
then we
recently
try
it's
to
just
guess.
been Austin.
We
Watching
try to
Yu-Gi-Oh!
guess who did it.
GX.
We
Watching
sat
Yu-Gi-Oh!
down
DX,
and we
watching Hunter x Hunter, just a bunch of shonen nonsense that's been out for a long time, and it's just like, huh, that's interesting.
You know what, Ben? I was thinking about, and maybe we'll do this on a future episode of the podcast, because I was thinking that if I just did a little bit of research, so I had all my facts in order, and also looked into those other games that I didn't know about, the lecture on the history of the weird continuity of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Video games might be interesting fodder for the podcast.
We could just do another Star Wars episode, another 2 hours of one
Yeah.
topic. It's just
Do it as a
you
bonus.
talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Someday there will be 5 hours of me talking about Digimon.
Here's the thing, though, Ben, because
As a
with the
bonus.
Star Wars one, right, there was like a 60-40 split, where I was talking more, but like you talked a lot. But with the Yu-Gi-Oh!
talked
one,
a
it
lot.
would be like a 90-10 split, and I don't think
It would be a TED Talk
it would be a TED Talk, but like with some questions from the audience.
with the commentator, yeah.
So anyway, I didn't really have a place to go with this thing of the guy running
Yeah,
alongside the car.
Do you think it's
Well,
super weird that all of you did
something-
that?
So I just thought, because it came up with somebody, and I was like, wait, you did that as well? And so I was like, let me on the podcast live see if everyone else did this. And it's so strange that everyone did.
I used to like practice switching in between focusing, like how I focused my eyes. That's what I would do in car ride.
Gotcha.
Like you can make it look like really jumpy, like your eyes do the jumpy thing if you focus farther away, and then you can make it go really smooth if you focus closer.
The thing I
This is what I
imagined
did.
running alongside the car, parkouring over shit, was like a wolf, but it was a robot wolf.
That's pretty cool.
Like not like a robot so much as like a mech.
All right.
Like a Gundam, but a wolf.
That's just a Zoid.
Imagine
anyways.
what, Bigfoot?
What did you imagine running alongside the car?
Bigfoot? Mothman?
Mothfoot?
I mean, I
Big
didn't-
Man?
Your future crushes?
Mothfoot and Big.
My good friends Mothfoot and Big Man. It kind of like, well, what I imagined depended on what my current hyperfixation was. So
Okay, that's
sometimes it was Bigfoot, and sometimes it was like the characters of whatever show I was watching were following me, and sometimes it was wolves. It was actually pretty often a pack of wolves. I don't know if that like really clocked the kind of
It's
child
because
that I
she's a
was.
furry.
But... No,
Not yet, she wasn't.
Oh,
Ben.
no.
it's got nothing.
We've
yet.
stayed away from this for so many episodes.
Chris, what did you imagine?
I'm
Just a
not
dude.
furry.
Just a guy?
Just like a guy, not really any guy in particular, just like a guy.
And Ben?
Like I said, mine was not a fun thing. It was a thing to be afraid of in the dark.
Oh.
So it was like an elongated, not quite person.
Ooh, it was like a monster dude. It was like Slenderman.
Yeah. No, this was before Slenderman.
I said it was like Slenderman.
Yeah. But it was like something you'd imagine in the dark with slightly glowing eyes
Damn, dude.
that had limbs that were slightly too long but was almost a person.
So a thing that I find to be kind of interesting about the fact that we all like separately did this very similar thing, is that there actually is like a lot of thought that like children have like a secret like culture that no one is really able to explain outside of childhood. Like there's so many like schoolyard rhymes and like weird like stories that get spread around that no one ever remembers being told by an adult.
Like how to draw
But they
that
were-
weird ass.
Well, like, but they remember it being told to them by other children. but there have been like studies of like certain uh like schoolyard rhymes going back like hundreds of years in different countries in like completely unrelated areas, and none of these kids can like pinpoint exactly where they first heard the rhyme, but they can remember that they learned it from another kid. Like, it's so fascinating, these like weird, unique, but like completely shared experiences that are just like kind of like
Like the
universal.
fancy S.
Like the fan.
Yeah, that weird ass.
Did anyone else here
That was
have
more like a
a
middle school thing, though, wasn't it?
I have no
But
idea what you're
still a
talking about.
childhood thing?
You don't know the cool
Um,
S?
Jenica, did you pop into existence at
S.
18 years old?
Yeah, it's an S, but it's cool.
Oh, the like triangle S thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That
it's
thing?
very angular.
I didn't learn that until high school.
Well, you know
I'm not
what?
sure
Jenica
had a
The
childhood.
3 hours behind, like over time, it does add up. So it makes sense that stuff we did in middle school, she would have done in
I mean,
high
it's
school.
honestly probably just because like I didn't have friends in middle school. Like if we're
Me
gonna be
neither.
but,
Big
like,
mood. Well, did anyone else in elementary school have a weirdly violent song that all the kids sang about Barney?
I had a weirdly violent
I
song
don't
about like
think
murdering
so.
the principal.
That didn't pop in
Yes.
until middle school for me.
I don't think so, but give me an example. Evie, are you giving me an example right now? And are the
I had
powers
to-
that
I'm
be
trying
I
to
had to cycle my
are the
internet.
powers that be trying
so-
to stop you?
They are. So the one
I
of
hate
the
you.
ones actually.
You hate me.
We had a few.
Let's
But
all
one of
go
the ones
and kill Barney. That one. That's the only one.
we had that one. We had on top of the school bus all covered with blood. I shot Barney with a machine gun.
Oh, damn.
Um,
Ours was axes and chainsaws.
We had on top of the school
uh,
bus all covered with blood, but it was very much about the teachers.
Mm.
oh, see,
Oh.
ours was about Barney. And then we
You guys-
had
you got to remember though, Ben is from Long Island, so things are a little. I'm not even gonna finish that sentence. Just like
we also had
just the vague notion that I have something against Long Island.
we also had a Jingle Bells song. But it was
Yeah.
Jingle Bells, Batman's
Yes.
smelled, Robin laid an egg.
Robin laid an egg. The Batmobile
Yeah.
lost a wheel.
And the Joker got
And the
away.
Joker got away. Where did that come from? That must
I think
have
that
been
actually
from
came from some
somewhere.
piece of Batman media.
Yeah, my
No.
dad
That
knows
must
It was
have been
that.
from
referenced in a number
something.
of Batman medias.
Yeah.
But
My
yeah,
dad
we
taught
had
me that.
but we had a lot of stuff about killing Barney. It was strange.
Huh.
It's horrifying.
Bone.
Thanks, Chris.
So I did, speaking of childhood fixations, I used to really like tanks, like a lot.
Like the shirts or the military vehicles?
Like the
Both.
big shooty treaded behemoths. I love tanks. They're very, very good. They're great. Before I get into this story, I would like to just let you all be aware of the fact that in World War II, the Japanese had a tank that was called the Type 4 Cheeto.
Hell yes, dude.
Was it covered in cheese and vaguely crunchy?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
No. But so I would like to tell you the story of. It's less of a story and more of a making you all aware of my favorite tank. Let's see.
Make me aware, baby.
There we go. It's
My
called
favorite
the
tank.
Bob Semple.
Why does it look like that?
Well,
Why
we'll
does
get
it
there.
bullets.
So
Why does it
basically,
look like a fucking tractor?
Yo, who's sending a
Well, it
bunch of
is.
Discord messages right now?
Jesus Christ.
Is it
Guys.
an EV server?
Please stop.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna mute for an hour. Okay, go on, Chris.
Mute for 1 hour so I can get through the story without like actually splitting my sides open. Okay, so the Bob Semple tank came about because in World War II, Australia and New Zealand were very concerned about the Japanese invading. The issue was they didn't have any tanks. Australia eventually worked out some stuff with that, but New Zealand is small, and they weren't quite as industrious as they are today in the 40s.
Is
So,
New Zealand very industrious today?
comparatively,
Are they known for
Mostly-
that?
No, it's mostly sheep.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure they
that's what
could
I
build
thought.
something out of sheep.
This
Most of the
post
people
made
build
by
out of sheep with
anti-New
other sheep.
Zealand gang.
Anyway,
Sheep is pretty cool.
so basically during the later years of the Second World War, New Zealand tried to figure out a tank. And this project was headed up by their Minister of Works, Bob Semple, who in his own right is an absolute fucking lad. He's got a whole thing. I don't want to get into it because tank. So essentially, they didn't have any production for tanks because they're big, and you need a big assembly line to put like that kind of stuff together in a way that doesn't look like that. So essentially, what they wound up doing was taking what they had available, which was tractors and corrugated iron and a bunch of like machine guns, and slapping it all together, and they came up with the Bob Semple tank. The Bob Semple tank is literally, it's built on the Diston 6-ton tractor tank. Well, it's based off of that concept, and it's built on a Caterpillar D8 crawler tractor, which is literally like a farming tractor.
Uh-huh.
So this is
Yeah.
they made a murder tractor, is what they did.
They made a murder tractor. And just the
Excellent.
concept of slapping a bunch of corrugated iron on top of a tractor, throwing some guns on it, and calling it good is just beautiful to me.
It's probably a good thing for them that they weren't invaded in a land war.
Yeah, because
See,
here's the
I've
thing
thought-
about
I've thought a lot about
Australia
this.
is they fought a war, a formal
Against
war
emu.
against birds and
Twice.
lost.
Have you
of
ever
them.
Yeah,
seen
twice.
Two of
emu?
them.
Like
Two
they had
of
to
them.
build a
Scary.
huge wall to hopefully keep
didn't
the
they lose?
emus out of
They did
Australia.
lose.
They surrendered, yeah, and then they built
They lost.
They surrendered.
They had more casualties than the emus.
They surrendered,
It is
and then
true.
they built a
God.
huge wall to try and keep the emus at bay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, fair
There were
enough.
two
Emus are
different
scary.
emu campaigns.
Yep, and they lost both of them.
They lost both of them. They had
They did.
machine guns and like military vehicles and an amount of infantry and to the birds.
Good for the birds. Good for
Because
them.
what they would do is they would herd the birds into a place, and it was essentially just them trying to cull the population of emus so that they could start farming. But they herded all the emus into a place so that the emus could only go in one direction towards the guns, and then the emus didn't die, and some people did.
Amazing.
It really is.
It's really a beauty of modern warfare, the Great Emu Wars. So back to the Bob Semple tank.
Yeah, the Bob Semple.
Basically, because it was on a tractor that definitely was not supposed to be weighed down by, a ton of iron, they couldn't fit a main cannon on it. Like tanks have.
Right.
The big
The
gun
thing
out
that
the
makes a
front.
tank
Wait.
not an APC.
The whole
Well-
point for having a tank.
Yeah. So they were just like, you know what? Machine guns. There's 2 machine guns on the front. One on the turret that can just rotate around, one on each side, and one in the back.
There's one at
It's
the
just
back.
there's just one in the back.
Just in case our own boys are getting too uppity.
Yeah. Yeah. And if that wasn't enough, they didn't have enough iron plating to make all the armor. They just didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of corrugated iron, they used corrugated manganese in the hopes that it would deflect bullets. They didn't actually test it ever
I don't think it would.
until they had slapped it together.
Pretty soft metal.
It is. It's not a good tank, but it's my favorite tank.
I mean, fair enough.
So essentially, they wound up with a bunch of guns in a box on a tractor.
Stellar.
And then they had to figure out how to man each gun all at one time, which was an issue because the engine was a lot of the interior.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
one of the gunners had to put a mattress on top of the engine to keep from burning himself and just laid on the mattress
Oh wow,
to be able to shoot.
that's one hell of a napping spot, huh?
There's no shielding on it, is there? It's just loud as hell in there.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Oh,
god.
yeah. But just the
You leave
concept
with-
of the Bob Semple is such a beautiful thing
You
because
leave
can you
service
imagine
with lifelong migraine? Doesn't
Can-
ever go away.
can you imagine being some random Japanese infantry guy landing on New Zealand in this hypothetical assault?
And here comes
Coming
half
off
a
of your
bar
landing
with more
craft,
machine guns
And then
than
here
you've seen
comes
in
a
your life.
wave of pissed off Kiwis charging down the beach with this
Aren't
thing
Kiwis
backing
New
them up.
Zealanders?
Yeah.
This is in New Zealand.
I thought you said it was Australia.
No, I said it was New Zealand.
I thought you said Australia.
I thought you said
I
Australia.
mentioned Australia and New Zealand because it's relevant to the story as a
I
whole,
thought
but
you
this
said
is New
Australia a
Zealand.
few times.
I thought the
Okay.
story was taking place in Australia, and that
Nah.
changes
No.
the entire context. I mean, they have
That's
very
just you
slightly
two
different
being-
accents.
You did say New Zealand.
All right,
But-
so
I remember.
you're Japanese. You invade New Zealand.
You're coming off your landing craft. There is a horde of pissed off Kiwis charging down a beach, ready
The
to
bird
rip
or
your
the
eyes
people?
out. Both,
Both.
probably. And they're backed up by this thing, and this
Just the one.
corrugated monstrosity is giving them the confidence to charge you. What are you going to think that thing is capable of?
True.
Housing like 2 horses.
Bounce.
It's just,
And
it's just
inside
such
of
a
those
beautiful
horses,
thing.
how
It's an
many men?
intimidation vehicle above all else.
Kiwi.
I mean, it's got guns.
Hey,
There
that
are
was
guns.
probably one of
They
my better
didn't even
jokes.
like slope.
They did
most of it.
literally the
Even
best they could.
horrible or laughed at, but it was a pretty good one.
I'm gonna finish up my semester next week. And I've really enjoyed it. I've missed math a lot. I forgot how fun and easy it was.
You've just
And I do
angered
enjoy
many
it.
people
You
by
sure you're
saying
talking
that
about math?
sentence.
I
When people
don't
say math easy, I feel so bad about
don't. Honestly, like it's just
Bro,
how my
wait,
brain
here's
is.
the thing
Like
though,
I've
Evie.
never
Math is easy because I got through
Well-
all the math classes I ever took without ever learning math, so it must
I
be
mean,
super
so
easy.
did I. I was at work the other day, and the doctor gave me a dose of medication to start one of our animals on. It was like you're gonna do 87.5 milligrams. I'm looking at all of the stock tablets that we have. We've got like a 250 milligram tablet and a 500 milligram tablet, and I'm like, Dr. Lehaney, I don't know what to do. And he's like, okay, you're gonna go. It's like you're gonna take this one and you're gonna give like a quarter of this one. I was like, okay, thanks. And
Yeah.
he's like, eventually you're just gonna like memorize all the fractions. And I'm like, no, I won't. But thank you for having that faith in me. Like I'm not going to learn these, but thanks.
Listen, I do calculus, and that's fine. I do sometimes have to type in, basic arithmetic into a calculator
Yeah.
just because I'll forget
My,
what 7 times 6 is.
Well, my
I'm pretty
biggest
sure
problem.
it's 42, but I'm not 100% sure.
My
And
biggest
I
problem
do
with
get questions wrong because
with
I'll
So-
do all the I'll do all the calculus correct, but I won't add properly.
That's this like really weird thing I've noticed, and maybe you guys have as well. And maybe this is true of like our parents' generation and of like the Gen Z and whatever. I have no idea. But our generation, because that's most of the people I know, almost everyone's really bad at just doing like adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing in their head.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
do you guys
gonna
notice
not.
that?
I'm gonna blame how a lot of us were taught like basic mathematics, because we were taught these like very like, and maybe this experience isn't universal, but from what I know from being in school to be a teacher and being in school as a student, and also like knowing and speaking to like recent and current math teachers, is like there a lot of standards have basic mathematics being taught in like very roundabout ways. And the thought behind it is that it'll make more difficult concepts easier to understand later on, which may or may not be true. I'm sure that there is some value to that, but what comes about from that is that you aren't taught to efficiently add and subtract and multiply and divide,
Yeah.
because you're being taught it in such a complex fashion that you aren't learning like the tricks to do it quickly.
Yeah.
And
Like the new
I
Common
think
Core shit. I'm not
right.
about it.
And like maybe it does make a lot of more difficult concepts easier, but if you can't
I
add
know.
like the more difficult concepts aren't the thing that you're going to need every day. But what I do need every day is to know what 1/4 of 250 milligram tablets is.
Mm-hmm. It's like
uh,
it's like 62.
Yeah.
5. That is one that I have memorized.
Like I don't have a lot of trouble like adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing in my head. Like once you like bring in like like decimals and fractions and shit, then I'm like I might have to whip out the calculator. But like for the most part I can just do that stuff in my head. But like other people that I went to school with and learned math with like can't. But like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I took like geometry and trigonometry and calculus and all that, but I don't know any of that. Like none of that stayed in the brain. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like I couldn't do like complex math, but if you're like, oh, what's like this number times this number, I would be like, it's that. Like I
In my adult life, I tried to do some simple algebra
how'd it go?
to figure out how much metal I needed to cover a birdhouse in it for my boss. And one of the guys I worked with came outside after and saw me doing math, and he looked at me like I had grown a third head and said, "Just fucking trace it, you moron." And then I threw away the math and traced the birdhouse on the metal I had.
I don't know if any of you would remember this. If any of you were gonna remember this, it would be Eddie or Ben.
Hey,
But I once made a I was trying to make a cosplay, and I did the math so poorly to calculate how much fabric I would need based on the stencil that I had drawn, that I ended up with 6 times the amount of fabric I needed.
Evie.
There is still a lot of
Evie.
fabric in a tub packed away somewhere.
I remember that actually, because the weird thing is that you did the math entirely correctly, but you were convinced that right at the end you had to multiply by 6, and I never understood it.
Oh god.
Well, folks, that's our episode for this week of Goblincast Live on the Air. Special shout-outs to our eternal sponsor, Phil Collins. You can find us on Twitter at The Goblincast, all one word, and you can check out more episodes wherever you find your podcasts. We upload a video to YouTube every episode with lots of fun visual aids, and make sure you follow us and share our content with your friends, family, and I guess my parents, so that we can keep growing and bringing you this sweet, sweet content. You know what they say in Milwaukee.